Hello and welcome to the Circling the Bases podcast from NBC Sports Edge. I'm Drew Silva. My usual co-host on these Thursday night shows is DJ Short, but his dad sadly passed away last weekend and his funeral was today. So we're sending our condolences to DJ and his family. Joining me on the show tonight is Johnny How do you pronounce your last name? I should have asked that.
Venezia. Listen, you got to take a note from our boy Jay Croucher over at PointsBet. He just perfects it every time, like he's hung out at the Gulf of Naples for his entire life. We go by Venezia.
Yeah. The Australian host of our Battle of the Bets shows has one-upped me. Venezia, Johnny V, we'll call you. What do you call yourself? A betting expert for NBC Sports Edge. So we're going to run through some divisional race odds, World Series favorites, and some long shots, whatever strikes our fancy and whatever has become more interesting in the aftermath of Tuesday's trade deadline. You heard from Chris Crawford and Ryan Boyer and Colin Henderson on our full trade deadline recap show on Tuesday, or if not, that's up and available. I think they went like an hour and 30 minutes breaking it all down. Johnny, I know that you're on vacation and I feel like a jerk for pulling you away from that, but thanks for putting the tequila down. At least I saw you had a Bud Light before show, not to rat you out, but I guess I just did. First of all, where are you?
So actually I'm in Manilokin down Jersey Shore. I just call it down the shore, but yeah, I'm down the shore with the family. Took the week off. You know, we got a big football season ahead of us. I'm sure everybody by now has heard our new signing, and we're bringing in a whale, man. We landed the best in the business, so it's going to be great working with him. Definitely got to clear my head, though, and just really get ready because we're going to have a huge month of August leading into the NFL. So just taking a little time out with the family, having a little party here and there, eating pretty good. You know, man, I'd love to do it, though. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, Matthew Berry, man. So I started at formerly called Roto World in 2008, and it was like the year that he left. So I've never actually been like a coworker of Matthew Berry, even though he kind of helped start the site. So yeah, I think that was a really cool addition to the cast. And I mean, football, drives what we do. I love baseball. I write about baseball. It's what I do full time, but football is everything to the fantasy industry, to the betting industry, and even the most hardcore baseball people and basketball people even would acknowledge that. So I'm really happy about that addition of Matthew Berry. What's the food specialties on the shore, at least where you are? I know the Jersey Shore is a long area and it's not all this. Yeah. It's not all Jim Tan laundry like the stereotypes.
It's always Jim Tan laundry for me, baby. Always.
No, it's not. What are the specialties in your area?
All right. Well, actually, there's a lot of good spots down over here. Today, there's one of the best Italian markets on the planet, on the absolute planet. It's called Joe Leone's. There's one in Point Pleasant. There's one in Seagirt. It is the best Italian market you'll find. They get all the fresh cold cuts. They get all the chicken cutlets, the mozzarella with the broccoli rabe, the meatballs, the eggplant rollatini. You name it, they got it. Literally, you eat like a king when you go in that joint, but you know what? You spend like $300-$400 for a basic order, but it's worth it, man. Like, there's a lot of good restaurants around here and everything like that, but you really can't go wrong because even if you eat at an average place, it's still pretty good.
I like it. Yeah, I do Cape Cod usually every July, but it's been June recently. And I live in St. Louis, and so like I don't really eat seafood here unless it's deep fried something because I don't really trust it. I'm a bit of a seafood snob because I've been going to Cape Cod since I was an infant, and so whenever I go up there, it's like scallops and oysters and lobsters and whole belly clams is like one of my favorite things. I just devour it. And I guess where did you grow up, by the way?
I grew up in North Jersey, North Caldwell.
All right.
So
you're Jersey through and through.
Always, man. I'll be Jersey till the day I die. Even though I'm adopted, I'm an adopted Tampa person now. I'll always be Jersey at my core.
That's typical to move from the North New Jersey, New York area to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. You're a walking stereotype, Johnny V.
Walking stereotype. You know what? I embrace it. I don't care. Yeah. Like, listen, A leopard don't change its spots. You know what I mean? Like, I'll always be myself, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. But either way, you know what you're going to get with me.
Man, this has become a therapy session all of a sudden. We're going deep. I need a vacation though. Yeah, this week has just been wild. I think I saw someone tweeted that it was the busiest trade deadline. If you include the trades that happened on Monday and the previous week, it was the busiest trade deadline since 2007. So much has changed with a lot of contenders and non-contenders, and we're going to get into some divisional races. Before we do, a little promo note. Weekends are better with MLB Sunday leadoff coverage presented by Uber Eats. Catch the Astros take on the Guardians in Cleveland on Sunday, August 7th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, live on NBC and Peacock. To learn more, go to peacock.com/MLB. And if you want a chance to win $25,000 on the game, download the NBC Sports Predictor app powered by PointsBet and enter Sunday's free Grand Slam Pick'em contest. And also, Chris Crawford and I will be doing a post-game show after the game on the NBC Sports Edge YouTube channel, like a waiver wire Q&A thing. If you got any fantasy questions, bring them over there. It usually goes live around 3:30 Eastern or so. All right, let's dig into these divisional races, and then I got to let you go since you're on vacation. We're going to make this a brief episode. Okay. I think we should start in the AL Central, which is, I don't know, probably the most interesting division just because there are 3 teams involved. You've got the Twins leading the way right now, the White Sox right behind them, and then, or I guess the Guardians right behind them, and the White Sox right behind the Guardians. The Twins, were the only team in that mix that made additions at the trade deadline. They got Tyler Mahle, who's going to debut on Friday night. They got some nice bullpen pieces. What are the odds in this division right now? I should have already had this pulled up, but.
Well, while you're getting that up, let's talk through it here. So first of all, I was never a believer in the Minnesota Twins, not last year, not heading into the season. I'll give them credit because they played a lot better than I thought they would. And let me say this, other than like the Padres, maybe the Blue Jays, I really don't think there's a better team that had a better trade deadline than they did. And it's saying a lot because, listen, they didn't go out and get any big pieces. They got Jorge Lopez, all-star closer from the O's, but a lot of people don't really know who he is. Tyler Mahle is really good. In the right situation on the right team, he could be an all-star himself. And when you really think about it, they addressed their needs. It wasn't anything splashy. It wasn't flashy. But it's going to get the job done. And they shored up a couple of weaknesses they had, and that ultimately could be what helps propel them to the AL Central crown.
Yeah, I think you said it right there. They didn't do like a whole lot, but I think Mahle is a really underrated starter. He had some shoulder issues this year, but he's been very effective in his last like 8 or 10 starts. They needed that kind of starter, like a guy who can be a number 2, number 3 to pair off Joe Ryan and Sonny Gray, and maybe if Chris Archer can keep doing his thing. Michael Fulmer was a nice pickup, and Jorge Lopez. Like, they got 2 really good, reliable bullpen pieces, perhaps a dominant closer and a really good number 3. I'm still looking at the White Sox as like they're going to go on a run, right? Mm. That's the most talented team to me, even still, even though the Twins did exactly what they needed to do and the White Sox did nothing and the Guardians did nothing. I saw this tweet earlier from Chuck Garifin of NBC Sports Chicago. Tonight is the first time this season that Jose Abreu, Tim Anderson, Yasmani Grandal, Eloy Jimenez, Juan Moncada, and Luis Robert are all in the starting lineup together. Like, they've all been hurt at different times. They've all been ineffective at different times, but finally, like, it's starting to maybe come together. They've disappointed me all year. I finally pulled up the odds. The White Sox are plus 135 to win that division. The Twins are plus 145. The Guardians are plus 300. If I put you on the spot on vacation, buzzing off Bud Light, who would you take out of that? I don't think I would. I think we can rule out the Guardians at this point. I'm so disappointed they didn't do anything at the deadline. Like, they have tons of payroll cap space. This was a year that they could totally go for it and win that division, and they didn't do anything. But all right, putting you on the spot, who are you taking there?
I mean, the Guardians at plus 300 is nice, but it's fool's gold. Listen, if they end up winning the division and we don't bet it, so be it. I can live with myself. The White Sox are my team I picked all along because the division was supposed to be weak. And quite frankly, it's not that good. It's just the White Sox, between injuries, between Tony La Russa falling asleep in the dugout when the game starts, between his incessant need to start and play Lurie Garcia every game. I don't understand what he sees in this guy. He is legitimately the worst player in baseball, yet he throws him out there in the starting lineup. Two big things happened, in my opinion, that really turned the White Sox upside down. Number one, I don't understand why they let Carlos Rodon walk to San Francisco for $22 million a year. By the way, halfway through his first year with San Francisco, was about to get the boot and get traded somewhere else. That number 4 starter who turned in nearly a Cy Young season, there's been a dramatic drop-off. Thank God for Johnny Cueto, though. He's picked up some of the slack. Secondly, I think what really turned them sideways, and it's going to sound strange, when they let Nick Madrigal go, and I understand he tore his hamstring and couldn't play, losing Nick Madrigal after he got hurt completely changed the complexion of the White Sox. He was a guy who didn't strike out. He put the ball in play. He got on base. He played great defense. He provided a lot of stability. They trade him for Craig Kimbrell for a half-year rental, who they lose anyway, and now Madrigal goes to the Cubs. But ultimately, to answer your question, I think it's going to be the White Sox. They're finally healthy. They have my pick preseason for AL Cy Young. I literally would take a bullet for Big Daddy, Dylan Cease. I think the White Sox come through.
I think I'm with you. Even though, I mean, I acknowledge that the Twins did what they should have done at the deadline. And it's probably going to come down to like the final week. I see it between the White Sox and Twins, but I think the White Sox, when you have the better talent group of the two, I'm probably going to side with that talent group. And I think the White Sox have that. All right, we have that settled.
Hold on, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, please interrupt me.
There's 2 games separating first place Minnesota and third place Chicago. You've seen how poorly the White Sox have played all season. Injuries aside, they just have not played well, yet they're in the position they are in. I mean, what does that tell you about this team? As bad as they're right there to take the division. They haven't even played well pretty much at any stretch at any point this season.
I think right now they're in the midst of their best stretch of the year, which it's the right time to strike. And maybe it's better if La Russa takes naps in the dugout and like someone else is making the decisions while he's sleeping one off. I saw that video the other night. Was that like corroborated, or did he just was he just kind of looking down at something, or was he really dozing?
I don't know, bro. I saw that eye flutter. It looks like, when you're watching TV at night and you really want to go to sleep, but you want to stay up and watch it, but you just can't help it. You just succumb to the sleepiness and your eyes start fluttering and closing.
It did look familiar in that way. Like you're in class and you're like, I know I should not do this, but the sleep is like dragging me into a hole. All right, let's talk about the NL Central. Let's talk about the NL East, and then we'll go to the NL Central, and then we'll do some World Series long shots, and we'll let Johnny get back to his vacation. The NL Central, it's interesting. It's obviously Brewers, Cardinals, and I think it's a little bit of a toss-up. I don't know if you've been paying attention because you've been a little bit off the grid, but Devin Williams blew a save on Wednesday night, gave up a walk-off homer to Brian Reynolds. And then this afternoon, Williams works the 9th inning. It goes to extra innings with the game tied. And Matt Bush, who they acquired at the deadline, allows a game-tying ground rule double to Brian Reynolds again. And then they give 2 intentional walks. And so the bases are loaded. Reynolds is on third, and Bush throws a wild pitch, and the winning run score. So I think they've lost like 5 straight games to the Pirates that they've been leading after the 6th inning. And I wonder, are they already like regretting trading Josh Hader?
No, because
I think it was a smart move long term, and maybe like they got the pieces they need to replace him in the short term. And I'm a guy that, like, I'm a numbers guy, I'm an analytics guy, but having Josh Hader at the back of games was a stability thing for them that suddenly they don't have. Is there anything there? I don't know.
So here's what I'll say. And they've been threatening or talking about trading either Devin Williams or Josh Hader since Moses wore short pants. And I honestly don't understand it from a real life baseball perspective, because you're in the thick of a division race. You're in the thick, like you're expected, your team expectations were to at least make a deep postseason run. And the fact that they had one of, if not the best closer in baseball, who they shipped away for Taylor Rogers, who, let's call it, what is he? Has a lot of saves, but he also loves to blow a lot of saves, mainly when I back the Padres on the money line. But Devin Williams, who has one of the best changeups in baseball, was a great setup guy. If you need him to throw him in a pinch to close a game, you have two top closers. And listen, don't get me wrong. I love Devin Williams. I think he could close, no question about it. But I just get worried about Milwaukee, because the strength of this team has always been their pitching. It's a story as old as time where the Brewers' strength is in their bullpen. They have one or two pieces on offense, and Christian Yelich hasn't been anything close to the NL MVP we saw 3 years ago. Meanwhile, the Cardinals had a couple solid pitching options, but their strength is their offense. Now you lose a key bullpen piece that was one of the best closers in baseball. I'm not so sold on it anymore. And I think Milwaukee's just hanging on because of a guy like Corbin Burns. Yeah, you get Freddie Peralta back, but can they score enough runs when push comes to shove down the stretch? They have proven time and time again they cannot do it. I think right now the Cardinals are the team to look at, because you got Miles Michaelis, you just got Jose Quintana,
Jordan
Arenado,
Montgomery.
Goldschmidt. Yeah, Montgomery, who, even he proven he can give you a couple of quality innings here and there.
Are you a Yankees fan, Johnny?
I'm technically a Mets fan, but honestly, I'm whoever wins me money.
Yeah.
Like, I was a huge Mariners guy coming into the season. Like, I have a ticket on them to win the AL, so they better kick it in gear.
Yeah, I got some action on the Mariners too, and it wasn't looking good in like June, but now it's looking pretty good. I think the Jordan Montgomery Harrison Bader trade is super interesting. I think the Cardinals won out on it, because like Montgomery's been fantastic this year. All the peripherals love what he's going to do moving forward. You move him from Yankee Stadium to Busch Stadium, like from one of the most dramatic hitter-friendly parks to one of the most dramatic pitcher-friendly parks, behind a really great Cardinals defense. I think he's going to flourish, and he's exactly what the Cardinals needed, paired with Jose Quintana. I know the Cardinals were going after Juan Soto, and I wanted them to do it, but in the end, I'm kind of glad they didn't, and that they addressed the needs that they needed two starting pitchers, two good starting pitchers, and they got them, and Quintana and Montgomery. And I'm the Brewers, I think, got maybe a little cute here, and they should have just kept Hader and added offensive help. And I think maybe this trade works out long term. They got future talent that's probably going to blossom and help them in the long run. But I would be a little bit worried if I was a Brewers fan after what we've seen throughout this week. I think their fan base is in a bit of an uproar. And the Cardinals had a doubleheader today. So they won the first game. The Brewers lost their game at Pittsburgh. If the Cardinals win tonight, they're in first place alone in the NL Central. It's going to flip that quickly. And I think when you have Arenado and Goldschmidt and the offense that St. Louis has, and then you add Quintana and Montgomery to the mix, I need to pull up those odds too. What is that right now?
Why Brewers are pulling that up?
Yeah, Brewers are minus 150. Cardinals are plus 135. I think if you're listening to this show live, jump on Cardinals.
I think so too, and I'll tell you why. Because whether he comes back anything close to what we know he's capable of, Jack Flaherty's on his way back. The Cardinals honestly have gotten a lot better pitching than I even expected this year. A lot better than last year. Look at Miles Mikolas. Look at Adam Wainwright's continuing last year's Renaissance season.
Andre Palante.
Exactly. And they're off. They can hit. And, I've been burned a lot by the Cardinals over the last 5 years, because probably twice in the last 5 years I picked them to win the World Series, or at least get there, because they're too talented. They're always one of those teams that finds a way to make a deep run. They take advantage of a matchup, whatever the case may be. They are a great team. I think this year they might finally get the best of the Brewers and finish what they couldn't do last year and grab that NL Central crown.
And I wonder if it depending on what the Phillies do, if whoever wins that Central race, if the loser is shut out of the wild card mix. And I know it's hard to trust the Phillies, honestly, but either the Braves or Mets are going to have probably the first wild card, and then the Padres could have the first wild card, or the Braves and Mets are going to have the second one. So I think those two wild cards are set, and then it's Phillies, Cardinals. I think I'd rule out the Giants. So really, whatever happens with the Phillies, who I really like what they did at the deadline, and if they get Bryce Harper back, like he took another step forward this week. He's swinging. He's starting a throwing program too, so he might return in right field. That could be an interesting team down the stretch. I think they're starting to get a little more serious. Like they let go Didi Gregorius this afternoon. They like officially released him. They're not playing around anymore. And I think Brandon Marsh was a nice addition. They've had like a center field question for so long. And Marsh is not much of a hitter yet, but he's shown spurts. And in the minors, he was a pretty good hitter, not like a counting stats compiler. I think that was a huge move for them. I mean, getting David Robertson, he got his first save on Wednesday night. The Phillies, I think, are really dangerous, and Harper's going to come back like really motivated. Nick Castellanos is finally starting to hit a little bit. Schwarber's doing his Schwarber thing where he goes on these crazy power spurts. So, and if the Brewers lose out on the NL Central title and then don't make the playoffs after trading Josh Hader, oh boy, Milwaukee's going to burn.
I mean, yeah. I have questions here about like the Phillies are actually coming in, and I knew I would take a lot of heat for this. They were my pick for the World Series.
Hey man, I think it was a nice long shot bet.
And you know, the big thing with them is look at their offense. I expected Nicky C. Nicky C is one of my favorite players. Like other than maybe like Julio Rodriguez and Vladdy Guerrero, like he's my favorite player. I expected him to have a much better year. And I don't know what happened to him this year as opposed to last year in Cincinnati. I think maybe next year he comes back with a vengeance. But, you know, losing Bryce Harper, I said they have to weather the storm, and they've kind of done that. You know,
they've done that.
They have a good top of the rotation. Their bullpen's always been a huge question mark. David Robertson's a big acquisition. And I think if they could just keep holding them back, I think ultimately they're going to be the team that grabs that last wild card spot. Because they're done with the division. I think they're done with the division. They lost too much ground too early. It's going to be so tough to come back. I think the Braves win the division. I think the Phillies are going to grab a wild card spot, though.
Noah Syndergaard making his Phillies debut right now. Allowed a run in the first inning, of course. Luke Voit, RBI single. That's perfect against the Nationals. Baseball. What a weird sport. All right, let's move on to the NL East, which we've kind of already touched on. Braves or Mets? I mean, that's it. What are you thinking here? I think it's the Mets, man. If Jacob deGrom looked healthy enough, he hit 102 in his debut on what was that, Tuesday night. If they have deGrom and Scherzer going in the rotation at the same time, it's going to be a better team in the second half than it was in the first. I know they didn't make any crazy additions at the deadline. They got Darren Ruff and some relief help, but if you've got deGrom and Scherzer going in the rotation at the same time with Chris Bassett and Carlos Carrasco, I think it's one of the best teams in baseball. And I don't think there's really any argument. I know it's fun to like laugh at the Mets, but this has been a way more resilient Mets team than we've seen over the last decade. And I think they're going to run away with it. And I really like the Braves, but to me, the Mets are a top 3 team in all of baseball.
You know what? Honestly, who cares about the division? Because, growing up a Mets fan, I've seen this movie before. Scherzer, deGrom, yes, the Mets do look different than they have last year. Last year's Mets already were on the collapse. And the Braves haven't even played that well. Like, Ronald Acuna isn't even anything close to what we expected. And now it's been over a year since his torn ACL.
Yeah.
But
I'm a little bit worried about him, to be honest.
I am too, but I think the Braves figure it out, find a way to capture this division. They have a huge series right now this week or this weekend.
This will tell us a lot. So the odds right now are Mets minus 300, Braves plus 240. Depending on how this series goes, that flips.
I would grab that plus 240 in a heartbeat.
Yeah, might as well put $20 on it or something, right?
But ultimately this comes down to what are they going to do in the postseason? Because that deGrom, Scherzer, if they're healthy, that matters more for the postseason because nobody else has that. Nobody else has anything close to a 1-2 punch than Scherzer and deGrom. So that's where it's going to matter more. Obviously, you want to win the division so you get the better seed, so you might get a more favorable matchup. That's going to be more of a telltale. But I think ultimately the Mets are just going to find a way to throw up all over themselves, and it's going to be the Braves taking the division. But I think the Mets might make a statement depending on who they play in the postseason with a healthy Scherzer and deGrom.
I think you've just been hurt too often Johnny.
Maybe. I've been heartbroken before.
You've been. I can tell, man. Someone's broken your heart, and it's the Mets. But
It
you've
is.
got new ownership. You know, it's the Wilpons. You got to put it in the past. You got to get over them. We're moving forward. You know, we're gonna. I think it's a World Series championship-esque team. You know, I think they have that in the cards. Like if they can put it all together, if they're healthy with DeGrom and Scherzer going into October, who the hell wants to play that team? Like it's
a good point. That's a good point. I tend to agree with you. That is that 1-2. If they're firing on all cylinders, you know, I don't see too many teams that want to face Scherzer or DeGrom. There's just nobody like it. Like
yeah.
There's just not. It's just as easy as that.
I would agree with you that, you know, placing a little ticket on the Braves right now is smart though, because if the Braves take 3 of 4 in this series, which could totally happen because it's baseball, that's going to flip like really quickly. All right. Yeah. Let's close this out with some World Series. Let's not even. All right. I'm going to give you 2. Do you have like the points bet odds pulled up for World Series odds? I'll give you some time to do that if you've got like a little phone or laptop or any kind of odds that you can find. I want you to give me your best favorite bet, and then your best long shot bet, and just give me like 30 seconds as to why.
All right, that's easy. Favorite will be the Houston Astros. They've shown all year that I think they're the best team in baseball. Justin Verlander, for as much hate as I have towards him, and he's the other JV, I'm the original JV.
Oh, boy.
They've been thwarting everybody. Like the Yankees would be their toughest competition. It's not even close. And they've been vanquishing them all season. The one bugaboo that they've had is the bullpen, but I think they're going to get that figured out. You know, Alex Bregman hasn't even played like Alex Bregman this season. Yordan Alvarez is hitting the cover off the ball.
He'll be fine, yeah. Yep.
I think it's the Astros. If you are looking to back a favorite, I think it's a no-brainer for the Astros. And I would throw big money on them because worst case scenario, if they get there, then you could start to play the little hedge game when you get into individual matchups in a 7-game series.
They're at plus 400. So Dodgers are plus 350. Yankees are plus 350. Astros are plus 400. My favorite's going to be the Mets, and I kind of already laid out why. They're plus 600. When we get off here, sports betting's not legal in Missouri because we're a bunch of hillbillies, but I'm going to cross the river in Illinois and put $100 on the Mets to win the World Series and get 600 back. All right, give me your like long shot bet. So I'm talking plus 1,000 odds or better. So Braves plus 1,000, Padres plus 1,000, Blue Jays plus 1,500, Brewers plus 2,500, White Sox plus 3,300, Mariners plus 3,300, Cardinals plus 3,300, Twins plus 4,000, Phillies plus 4,000. And I'll put the Rays in there too. They're plus 4,000. I think everyone else can be kind of ignored.
I'll give you know what? I'm gonna do you one better because this was my preseason World Series coming into the year. I'm gonna go. It's gonna be still Toronto and it's gonna be Philly. I don't know how they're going to do it, but the Phillies are going to find a way to get themselves in the playoffs, and they're going to make some noise because if that offense starts gelling, that is the reason why I picked them to begin with. They have enough pitching at the top of the rotation. If their bullpen's a little bit improved, which it should be now, they're going to be a super tough out. Anybody that they face, I mean, that hitting with Bryce Harper coming back, Zach Wheeler's throwing lights out, Aaron Nola's doing pretty well, David Robertson picked up the save. He's good. I like the Phillies out of the NL. And Toronto was my team in the AL because their lineup's also disgusting. They have Gausman, Manoah absolutely shoving. If Jose Barrios can provide any sort of consistency.
He has lately, man. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, he's been great at home more so. But Kikuchi's coming back. Romano out of the back of the bullpen. And guess what? They added one of my favorite players in baseball, Whit Merrifield, to go along with Vladdy, Daddy Hacks Guerrero, Bo Bichette, George Springer, Teoscar Hernandez, Matty Chapman. I like Toronto. I think they could give a lot of teams fits, especially the AL, whether that be the Yankees or the Astros. So I'm going to go with Toronto versus the Phillies.
I love it, man. I think Toronto is such a good bet too at plus 1,500. The Padres at plus 1,000 is intriguing. That has shrunk. It was like plus 1,800 a week ago. But getting one.
Do you
so
believe in them? Do you
no,
believe in the Padres?
No.
I don't
And
either. There's something about it.
I know there's something about it. I think they're gonna have some weirdness with their rotation. I don't think Clevenger. I don't trust him at all. Yu Darvish can be great, but can also throw up stinkers. Joe Musgrove's steady. I have no problems with Joe Musgrove. Blake Snell, like there's so much volatility in that rotation. And I don't know. The AJ Preller is a madman. He needs to join you there on the Jersey Shore because I feel like he'd get down with some tequila with you or something.
It's a Casa Azul.
Yeah. What is this tequila that you were talking about it on Battle of the Bets earlier? What is it?
Oh yeah, the Casa Azul. It's like top shelf tequila. It comes in like a sick porcelain bottle. I should have brought it with me.
Like rounded base and then it's like a flute up top?
No, it's like the thing. No, it's like the thing where it's got the bell on top when you hit it, and it's just like a bell. It's pretty cool. The Reposado, bro, it's lit. I'm telling you, like it is top shelf. I went to my cousin's wedding, and I was just like all night. I threw the guy like $50, the bartender. It was open bar.
Like we're gonna be buddies. I'll be coming back.
Yeah, I was like, listen, bro. Like you see me have that Casa Azul on the rocks, ready to go for Johnny V. No problem.
That's my move at a wedding. Yeah, I'll go up and order the first drink, slide the guy not a 50, usually a 20. I'm just like, hey,
you got to duke them. You got to take care of them. They
like, hey man, I get it. I'm just like, we're buddies tonight. You know, I come up, I say, hey, you know exactly what I need. I get out of here. All right, we're gonna get you out of here. Thanks for jumping on. And
real quick, can I give a little? I want to give a special shout out, my boy Dylan Cease. You know about this already. Preseason, he was my Cy Young pick. I've been touting him all season long. The guy's got the best slider in the game. He's starting to put it together. Shane McClanahan gave him the opening that we needed. He threw kind of a stinker in his last start. That's exactly what I needed. Now we need Verlander to do the same thing. If Verlander has one of those where it lifts his ERA into like the high 2.0s, low 2.1s, that's what's going to keep the door open for Dylan Cease. It's the ERA. Cease is getting the whip down. He's got the Ks up. I think it's going to be Cease at the end. And I'll be cashing like 3 tickets. I've been dipping in Dylan Cease's futures all season long.
Yeah, like riding the wave of it with when Shane McClanahan had it. Dude, I've got Dylan Cease AL Cy Young Award tickets too, so I'm all about it. I guess NL Cy Young, it's Alcantara, right? Like he's not going to stop.
I don't know. I'll admit, last year he was not as good as he has been this year in the first half. He was really good in the first half. But he hit a brick wall in the second half. And honestly, I kind of thought the same thing was going to happen. His innings, it's just ridiculous, like the kind of innings this guy's eating up. It helps that he's not a strikeout pitcher. But I think the same thing's going to happen to him this year. I think the innings are going to start to catch up to him in the next few weeks or so. Corbin Burnes is a little bit built to take this workload. And I think Burnes is going to slide in. I actually bought in on him last week. I think it's going to be Burnes that slides in for the NL Cy Young. He's going to be among the league leaders in strikeouts, probably innings. And I think if he can get that ERA down to around under 2.2 and Alcantara gets it up into like the 2.10s, I think Burnes is going to steal the show on this one.
Yeah, man. You might have something there, and Burnes is plus 700 right now. If he's got like
grab it.
Yeah, if he's got a 70 strikeout advantage on Alcantara, like I think he might win it. Like when these writers, and it's the voting base has changed, and it's a lot of guys that look really deep into it. They don't just go with the storyline. It could be Burnes in the end. There's 2 months. There's 8 starts, maybe even like 10 starts left to go for some of these guys. A lot could change. I think Burnes is maybe worth touching too. I don't know. Alcantara's just looked freaking invincible to this point. All right, we'll let you run, man. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been the Circling the Bases podcast. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Drew Silva. Johnny's at _Johnny VTV. Subscribe to the podcast. Give us 5 stars, and drink the Casa Azul. We need a sponsor.
We do. That's next on the bucket list.
Yeah. See you next time.
Thanks, man.